Bling, blink, a blink, a blink, a bling, blink, blinky, blink, blink, bling, blink, 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 blink. Introduction music. Blink, 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 blink. I have no idea what I'm this. What
So this is what we're doing
do?
when we don't have intro music. That is a big sexy.
That is the almost psychic,
And we
and
have
we
made
are
it to an episode number 2. Woo!
what? Get out. We've done.
Who,
We have 2 episodes.
who would have ever
We are now.
thought?
We have. Right now we have 1 episode. We are starting our second. So if we make it through this, we will have two episodes.
Once you're in, you're in. So I'm look, if anybody's listening to this, we've got 2 episodes. Let's play the time
Yes,
and space game
there you
here.
go. There you go. All our listeners going, yay, second episode. All right, we get to follow up on these amazing people.
Yeah. So what's going on in your world?
Life is good. Work is bleh, you know. I guess I'm like everybody else in that sense. I'll tell you something that happened.
Yeah.
We were really close to putting down money on our venture out. It would have been the first money spent on the digital nomading. Norwegian Cruise Lines had a deal on a one-way cruise departing from New York, leaving New York. That's what departing means. Departing means leaving. I didn't mean to repeat that, but I'm tired. So I will follow my brain. Uh, and arriving in Panama City, it's like a 14-day cruise or 15-day cruise. And the deal they had was like, it was really great, really inexpensive per person. But we had to have bought the, at least put a down payment on the tickets by Sunday. And we have been talking about cruises since we got back from our last cruise. And wife hits, we're in the middle of playing mahjong, and wife hits me, hey, we need to make a decision if we're going to buy this cruise because the sale ends today. And I'm all, what? Uh, and I think we were both kind of hesitant about it because again, it's uh because our right now our travel plans are so fluid. We're trying to get money in, seed money, as opposed to locking money down for it. So we let it pass. We let it pass with the understanding that deals happen all the time.
Deals happen all the time, and pick up the phone. And I'm sure if you guys don't know a travel agent, I know a travel agent. These cats have access to stuff that comes and goes as far as the general public is
Yeah,
concerned.
and we do. We have access to travel agents.
Perfect. Yeah.
And
So
that's the other thing I was thinking. Like, we also had some friends that we just met on the last cruise ship. Shout out to Billy and Larissa, who have a blog called Cruise Habit. Definitely, guys, go check them out. Cruise Habit, all one word on the Instagram. They blog and things like that. They do that. They go on cruises and they have all this information. So we did a Zoom with them Sunday evening, and they said the same thing. Deals happen all the time. Make sure you get a good travel agent. And I was, oh yeah, travel agent. Duh, we don't have to do this by ourselves. Um,
yeah, and a lot of times, let's let this be a PSA here, since we do focus a little bit on travel, and certainly as your journey begins, we'll focus a lot more on travel. Uh, the travel agents get paid by the resorts or the hotels or the whatever it is that they're booking for you. You don't pay them. And I will tell you, in my experience, and there are some scenarios in which I don't use a travel agent, but when we talk about them, they'll make sense. Is that you can usually, and for a while, my MO was go to a website like Cheapo Caribbean or whatever, find a deal,
mhm.
screenshot the deal, send it to the travel agent, say, can you do this for me? Number one, the answer was always yes. Number two, the price was either cheaper or the accommodations were better. I've had it happen a few times where it's been both. So you end up spending even less money. You get better stuff. Plus, if you've got a good travel agent, and I don't know if you do, I do. If you do, then either of us end up being a resource for people to say, hey, who's that good travel agent? These people
Right.
are there if something goes awry to fix it. And I'm talking about you are flying and you've got a connecting flight, and your first flight is delayed. You just let them know. And by the time you land, your shit's fixed. You may not know exactly how it's going to be fixed depending on your internet
Right.
connectivity on the plane, but rest assured,
Right.
a good travel agent is just going to turn that out for you while you are up there 30,000 feet, not a worry in the world.
Yeah. So I'm gonna yeah, that the goal now is to reach out to uh the travel agents that I know, um and start the process,
So you
setting
mentioned
stuff up.
this being a one-way cruise. So is it billed as a one-way cruise? Like everybody getting on
Yes.
this cruise is going one way? It's not like some sort of, hey, check this box if you plan on getting off and not coming back.
No, yes, everybody on that cruise is going one way. It's not a round trip type deal. And there are apparently a lot of cruises that do that. Like
Wow.
there's a lot of transatlantic cruises that, start off someplace wonderful. They dock, travel across the Atlantic and land in one other spot and call it good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you
And then
think about it,
you're there, you're everywhere you are, and then you fly home.
okay. I mean, if you think about it from well, I'm thinking now in my mind how much sense this makes if they were to do this as a business, and they could do it as a round trip cruise, but they could also do it as not a round trip cruise. And what I mean by this is imagine a monorail. Okay. Like, have you been to
Monorail,
Disney World?
monorail,
Have you
of
been to Disney
course.
World? Yeah. So you know the
Both
monorail
Disney
that
World and Disneyland.
the monorail
Mhm.
that they have in Disney World that connects the Magic Kingdom to the Transportation and Ticket Center and like three of the hotels. They don't know where you're getting on and they don't know where you're getting off. So if you had let's say that you had a cruise that went from, we'll say, New York City, because you were talking about one from there, and then let's
New
say
York City.
it went to Miami, then it went to somewhere in the Caribbean, then it went to somewhere else in the Caribbean, then it went to, who knows, Spain, and then it came back to New York. People could get on, do the whole circuit, and get off in any of those cities, and it would be round trip for them.
Not quite with cruise ships. And I thought the same thing, and I am now learning that
Is it a
um
customs thing?
there's customs things, there's legalities, with the cruise ship. There are head counts that have to be maintained. Um, where like if all of a sudden, that's why they make sure you're back on the boat. You know.
See, I haven't
Um,
done a cruise, so nobody's ever made sure I was back on the
oh
boat.
yes, yes. You need to fix your life. You need to go on a cruise. There you go,
We
buddy.
had one planned, and then this little thing that I don't know if you heard about it, but it impacted us here on the East Coast, called COVID, hit.
Co COVID.
19. Like don't forget the 19 at the end there.
Oh, I th-
So
I I think I heard about that.
yeah, it jacked us up for a little bit. Destroyed the cruise that we were supposed to go on. We ended up getting refunded for it.
Yeah,
Yada yada
but
yada.
I would say this that
Everybody's got one of
happened.
these stories, so
That happened in 2020. You should have done this ages ago.
agree.
I've been cruising since the 80s. Uh, uh, I adore cruising, and before all the environmentalists come after me, I don't care. I know how bad cruise ships are for the environment. I get it. I get it. But you know what? I also get hanger flank steak that's so amazing and delicious as a part of the package almost anytime that I want. So, give and take. Give and take.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, I've done a lot of travel, but just for whatever reason, and again, we had every intention of doing a cruise. And I guess the difference is for me, the difficulty that I have, and I'll do one eventually. It's just a matter of finding the timing that makes sense because any other sort of travel that you do, I book or have the flight booked on the day that I want to leave and
Right.
return the day that I want to return. You just get a hotel room for the appropriate number of days. You book all of the other stuff that you're doing for the right number of days. When you're cruising, you got to leave at a date and time certain. And there's not really a whole, and again, these cruise lines have a ton of different destinations, and some of them are 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 14 days. Fucking year-long cruises exist out there. But, I guess it's just, and I've had through casinos and stuff because I'm part-time a degenerate gambler. I've had offers for free cruises numerous times over the years that just the dates just didn't line up. So it hasn't happened yet. It will eventually. Everybody who I've ever spoken to about it, very similar to you, has said you will never want to do anything else again.
It is true.
Just haven't
It is
gotten
true.
there yet.
Well, you have to get there. That'll be a part of this journey. At some point in time, we will cruise together.
Yeah, I'm all about
And
it.
we would do a podcast from the boat. Which I can't wait to do. So yeah, that almost happened on Sunday. We almost bought our cruise to Panama, but we didn't. So we were looking on the lookout for the next great deal, which is on the horizon, I am sure. And you, sir, how has your week been? What's been happening with you?
Things are still crazy. I don't know if we talked about it or not on the last episode, but we bought a house. We own the house. We don't live in the house yet. Um, we are also selling the house that we currently live in. So we found a house that we wanted. We weren't really in the market for a house, but we found this house that is absolutely gorgeous, has a ton of land, which means no neighbors. It has the ability for us to expand it a little bit further as far as finishing some areas, including about 500 square feet that I'm going to turn into a private magic parlor. To do performances and work things out that I'm working on and everything like that. That area will probably also double as a podcasting studio by the time I get things up and
Nice.
going. So we closed on that property November 2nd. Nope, not November 2nd. It was definitely what month are we in right now? September.
This is September.
So it was September 2nd. I
Ah.
don't know why I, who have been awake at least 3 hours longer than you with the time change. But I should be with it a little bit more than that. But such is life. September 2nd. But the
Congratulations.
the sellers, thank you, of that house are building apparently an even larger house, presumably on more land, and they are basically renting back from us until the last week of October.
So you're doing the house equivalent of double dipping. You got two places.
So I got two places right
It's
now.
like when you get a new girlfriend before you break up with the old girlfriend.
Well, I don't know that I've ever done that, but
It's like when you get a new hot dog before you're done with the old hot dog.
so I'll tell you, I often will order the next beer if I'm at a busy restaurant before I'm finished the first one. And in fact,
There you go.
and some people, this is my take on it. You tell me what your opinion about this is. Some people have told me that this is brilliant. Some people have told me that I'm a dick. But when I walk into a bar or whatever, and if it slams, like my town had their fall fest this past weekend, so that is an opportunity for it just to be, people in the street. They've got special zoning for the weekend. You can, as long as you're using the certain cups, you could drink in and around the street, which is no big deal to you Vegas folks, because that's just every day for you. Um, But when it's busy and it's slammed, I will order 2 drinks at a time because to me, that's one order. And I've gotten 2 drinks and I have taken one less interaction off of your shoulders as the bartender. That's my take on it.
I don't see. I was really hoping that it was gonna be something that I could say, "Oh no, absolutely, you are a dick." But no, that's a smart move. That's what everybody does. That's
I've had people call me a dick for doing it. Like, why the fuck would you do that? I'm like, why
like
not?
what what sensitive ass
It has
ball
been
sacks
it,
are calling you a dick for ordering 2 drinks instead of 1 drink.
being efficient, is what I call it.
What uh, you're like, I don't want to drink one and then got to go and wait for another one.
Right.
No, you just get 2 drinks and
Well, I'm
call it
just
good.
look. Somebody else gets their drink faster because I pulled that move.
I
So
tell you what, I know people who have ordered, you know, 3 to 4 drinks with no plans of sharing those 3 to 4 drinks. They just that's their drink order for the night, and they just get them and they have them at once.
I mean, there are places that encourage this. They you know,
And again, I know there are also
they'll
some
sell you a
places that
bucket of
that
beers.
won't serve you more. Right? Exactly that. Exactly that. You can buy a bucket of beers even if you plan to drink the entire bucket of beer. Now, I am not a beer drinker. I am a hard liquor kind of guy.
What is
Uh,
your hard liquor of choice?
so that answer is twofold.
Okay.
Uh, because I have a bit of the diabetes, I got the sugars. I can no longer have my favorite alcohol, which is spiced rum.
Okay.
I am a Captain Morgan, Pirate Bay, cheap ass, whatever it is. I love me some spiced rum mixed in with delicious tropical flavored juices and liqueurs, uh, where it tastes like a deliciously fruity drink and you can't taste the alcohol.
So
Those are my
perfect for cruise
jams.
ships, right?
Those are my jams. Give me a pineapple slice and a little tiny umbrella. I will drink that shit with my pinky up. But now I due to the diabetes, uh I have to consume vodka because
Okay.
vodka is a potato liquor. So it doesn't affect your blood sugars the same. Uh but because of that, I don't drink as much anymore because vodka always tastes like let me take you back in the day. Vodka was my first ever real drink that I
Okay.
ever had when I decided to start drinking. And when I was a wee lad, I had alcohol one time. I had stolen my mom's rum and coke, not knowing that it was rum and coke. Thought it was just coke, and I was just gonna have a sip of coke, and it was rum and coke, and I choked and like, oh my god, what is that's not what is that's gross. Um, then fast forward, I didn't drink at all. Like in my high school age, teenage, college, not until I was 20 years old. And there was this lovely, lovely, amazing, gorgeous woman by the name of Deborah Shepherd. I will say, Deborah Shepherd, if you're listening to the podcast, call in. Um, who on her birthday uh, convinced me to take my first real drink. And I was the one of those jerk, stupid ass people who said, no, I can't drink and I'm allergic to alcohol. No, I'm allergic. And I thought that was, I realize now how dumb you are when you say shit like that. Like you just don't want to drink.
Yeah.
But I wish I just had the courage to say, no, I don't drink. I'm good.
And no shame
Uh,
to anybody out there that doesn't drink. It's all good.
right, right. Big props, big props. If you don't drink and you don't drink on purpose, do that. No shame in that game whatsoever. But this beautiful young lady got me to take my first drink. And my very first drink was a screwdriver. So it was, those who know what a screwdriver is. For those who don't know what a screwdriver is, that is orange juice, and vodka. Two ingredients mixed
Easy.
together, easy peasy. So I sipped on that, and then we all took a shot of vodka. So I took a shot of vodka,
Just
just
regular.
straw straight out the bottle into a shot glass into my mouth. Uh, and I immediately, recoiled because again, it tastes like rubbing alcohol. And I should mention that we had chili for dinner that night. And I remember clearly because I took the shot down, the shot came back up. I said, nope. I took the shot back down again. The shot came back up. I took that shot down one more time, and the shot returned with friends.
Oof.
And so I let it all go in the backyard of my friend Tom's house. Tom, if you're listening, call in. And like just hurled chili and vodka, orange juice, and it was
That is a hell of
horrible.
a combo. Oof.
Um, so then, which they assured me was part of the experience, and and I, washed my mouth out, brushed my teeth, uh, and continued drinking, and then
Puke and
explored
rally.
and and then explored other drinking options. Right? I said, well, that vodka was horrible. What else do you have? And that's when I found the rum. And the rum and orange juice went down nice, and rum stayed in, and rum had all the effects that everybody talked about. So I got lit. Uh,
Look,
yeah, and then
you mentioned something about that experience and feeling like, at least in some part of your mind, that you were allergic to alcohol or whatever. It's weird because also in this, you've got the two different experiences all in the same moment between the vodka and the rum. I can't drink tequila. I don't know what it is, but like even just the scent of tequila makes me gag. I can drink rum. I can drink whiskey. I will drink more whiskey. I do love drinking whiskey. I can drink vodka. I can drink, I mean, you name it. Gin is fine. It's not my favorite, but for whatever reason, I
Is gin
just
anybody's favorite? If gin is your favorite alcohol, call in. I want to talk to you and
do you
channel
know
your brain.
Carissa Hendricks?
Not by name.
Okay.
Is she a
Lucy
scoop?
Darling is one of her stage names. Magician.
Uh,
At least within her act. I don't know her
oh,
personally, but at least within her act, she claims to love gin. And again, I don't know how
you
much of that
know,
is the
I
character.
I say that, and I know that there are people out there whose favorite drink is a gin and tonic, right? But I would say, yeah, but would you drink it without the tonic? Right. I would drink rum straight from the bottle. I
And
have.
you can, and there are some rums that are
I've had,
just,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Now tequila, I I like tequila, but it's amazing how uh different alcohols can affect you differently. What I mean by that is when Big Sexy drinks tequila, and yes, I've just talked about myself in the third person because that's what happens when I drink tequila. When Big Sexy drinks tequila, Big Sexy will tell you about yourself, things you may not want to know that Big Sexy was thinking about
Ooh.
you. My filter is obliterated by tequila. One of my favorite stories I ever had of tequila. My friend calls tequila my loudmouth soup. Uh, I was on a retreat for my college. I went to Cal State University, San Bernardino, and I was the president of the theater club there, the Players of the Pear Garden. And the student government had a retreat for all the different club presidents to kind of meet, talk about the club organizations and things of that nature. So we all went out to Palm Springs. To your the president and the vice president would go out. My vice president can make it, so I took my I think Heidi was my secretary of treasury or something like that. So me and my friend Heidi, representing the theater department, go out to this event. And of course, it's college students, so drinking commences after all the official um, goings ons. I end up getting now. I have what's called my poor man's drunk, which is I get a fifth of tequila and a 2 liter bottle of 7 Up. So it's tequila and 7 Up. I drink a bit of the 7 Up, 2 liter bottle, and then I pour the entire fifth. And I get the cheapest tequila I can find. And I pour the entire fifth of tequila, and I think it's a fifth. One of the smaller bottles, the flask size bottles.
Yeah, yeah.
I pour that entire thing into math is hard. I pour the entire thing into the 2 liter bottle. And that 2 liter bottle is my drink for the whole night. And I would get so lit off of that bottle. One is 2 liters of liquid. So I'm also trying to stay, as hydrated as possible. I know that's a thing. I don't like doing hangovers, so I make sure I'm also drinking water in between. But man, the shit that I said about people with volume.
Welcome to the
One of
show.
my one of my favorite quotes was college eras, they have all these sororities. And my friend was really big into this. Yeah, she's my friend Heidi. I can call Heidi my friend. Heidi, if you listen to the podcast, call in. Uh, Talking to Heidi about it, and Heidi, nope, I'm not gonna attempt to remember her Delta, her Greek letters. I think I guess I'm gonna try. I just lied. I'm gonna try. I think she was a Kappa. I know that I remember that the colors were green. Um, I know she wasn't a Delta because my mom was a Delta Sigma Theta, and she wasn't that because I was all black ladies and Heidi was white. I think Heidi was a Kappa, and then there were the Zetas. Now, imagine your Kappas are your high schoolers. I'm not your high schoolers, your cheerleaders, right? They're that they're those really super fine, untouchable, gorgeous, gorgeous
Well, speak for
uh,
yourself when it comes to
women.
untouchable.
Well, untouchable to me, because I was not the big and the sexy in my early college days. Uh, I was heavy into my nerddom, and I've always been lovable. People always loved me. I was always that guy, but also kind of goofy. A little too silly for that. But so there were those, and then you had your Zetas, and I clearly said, Heidi, why are all the Kappas beautiful? Do you have a requirement to be gorgeous to be a Kappa? And then do you kick your rejects over to Zeta? Because Zeta girls are plain. They are not remarkably beautiful at all. They tend to be meh, eh, you know, not that great looking. Definitely not up to Kappa status. And I said that with a volume that made my friend Heidi go, shut up. Shh, stop it. I know what? I'm just speaking the truth. I'm just telling it like it is. So that forever became loudmouth soup. And I was no longer allowed to drink tequila in public settings.
Loudmouth soup sounds like an episode title, if you ask me.
You got that right. Um, yeah. So my college years were fun, but it's weird because I did college later in life. Uh, I graduated high school uh, way back in the day, uh, in '89, and I didn't graduate from a 4-year university until 2002. Um, and for those who want to do the math out there, feel free to do it. I'm not doing it because it's too early in the morning in my time zone. Um, and I went to a junior college. I spent 5 years getting a 2-year degree in junior college because fresh out of high school, I thought I knew everything. And I thought college was, well, in college, you got to take the classes you wanted to because you already did all the stuff in high school. So now that you have the basic understanding of things, you can just take electives. And I took so many electives and zero primary general education courses until a year and a half in.
It's like the Van Wilder, you know.
Yeah,
I don't take the
yeah.
require. I could get because if I remember correctly, and I haven't watched that movie in a long
Oh,
time,
sorry, I'm kicking.
um, he didn't have a problem with grades. He just stayed there forever because he just didn't take all of the required courses to
Right,
graduate.
but wasn't he doing that on purpose? Like he was doing
Yes,
that
100%.
to stay at the campus. He didn't want to graduate.
Yeah, he wanted to stay in that bubble.
I was trying to figure out why I wasn't about to graduate, as some of my friends were talking about graduation. And I remember being in the cafeteria, and one of my friends was like, "Oh, I gotta find me an English, a math something class." And God, I hate. I'm all, why are you taking the math class if you hate it? Well, you gotta have the math class to get at to graduate. What? Why are you gonna have a math? No, what are you talking about? Have you not taken any math classes, or I said no. Science classes, English classes, no. You need to go see a counselor. What'd your counselor say? Oh, I haven't seen one of them. So I didn't see a guidance counselor till a year and a half
So
in.
they're just in there taking your damn money and giving you a
Oh,
very
no,
well-rounded
look,
education.
I took every single theater class there was. I took a couple of at one point in time I was going to be a sex therapist. So I remember taking a sex therapy class and those kind of electives, and I took creative writing courses because again I'm a poet. So I was taking those kind of classes as well. But like history, I don't care about history. Political science, I don't what I don't want to do that. English 101, I know how to read and write. I don't know what am I taking that for? So then the next so a year and a half I finally talked to a guidance counselor. And or maybe a year and 3/4 couldn't afford the system. So on my third year on the campus is when I started trying to take all of my prerequisites to graduate, because I hadn't taken any yet, and I was supposed to be graduating, in 2 years. Had I done, I could have, but I didn't. Then it's always difficult to get the classes that I need because I had to start from the beginning. And trying to get an English 101 class in a fall semester or fall quarter when all your high schoolers are getting in there trying to get the same class, and I was working at the time, so trying to dance around a work schedule. 5 years, 3 years later, I got my AA.
Yeah, I took my sweet old time in undergrad. Some of that was just partying, and some of that was a Van Wilder sort of situation. And like I said, I took the scenic route through undergrad. I blitzed my way through law school. I actually started in a 4-year night program and then finished in 3 years. So I
Oh,
guess
nice.
some of it is just kind of finding where you belong and just taking off. Um, which is definitely what happened there. So that was an adventure. But
Yeah, that was me in college, and that was me in the theater classes. I took every when I say every theater class, every single one, every class that school offered that had anything to do in that theater, I was in it. I became a scene painter. Like I got a job in the theater department, uh, being both a scene painter and a carpenter. And I was a stage. If I wasn't in the production, I was a stagehand in the production. I learned audio design, stagecraft. I learned, all the so I am a hybrid of actor and techie because I took every single class and loved all of it. I love all of theater, and yeah. But as far as like the other regular shit, that was a no go for me.
Yeah, math can wait. Why not, right?
Oh, I was trying to get algebra, and then I failed the first time I took it, uh, because I hadn't taken any math classes since high school,
Right.
and I hated math in high school. Um, and I'm decent with numbers, and I failed it only because uh, I didn't want to do the class, so I went the first, and then I just stopped going. So no, I got to do this to graduate. So then trying to find another math class. Then I was able to find a math class. A night class was really wonderful, and I loved the teacher, and it worked out really great. I ended up getting an A in that class. But I love how it's followed me today. The all the important stuff that I learned in those general education courses in college, how I use them on a daily basis. Whatever, shut up. I don't. You know what I use? All those damn electives that I took,
Yeah.
all the things that matter to me, I still use to this day.
I can't
Yeah, but
academically, I can't remember a whole lot of anything from undergrad. And law school does not teach you to be a lawyer. So there's like a slice of that pie that I've got some recall to. And the one of the most annoying things about being an attorney is that when somebody finds out you're an attorney, um, they want to ask you all sorts of asinine questions that have nothing to do with what you do. Sometimes they might ask you a question that you can actually answer, but like I don't know all of the things when it comes to the
all
law.
of law.
I know
You don't
all
know
of the
all of law?
things. I know most of the things that I know a hell of a lot about what I do, and I try my damnedest to not do anything but what I do. So, be kind to your attorney friends and, figure out what they do before you start asking them about, your cousin's neighbor's fucking dog that they don't want on the property because it's got the yips or whatever.
What law did you study?
Well, what did I study or what do I do?
Nope.
Because
I asked my question on purpose. What law
um
did you study?
well, law school, at least where I went, with some exception, because again, when you get to start picking classes, but that you could take what you want. Um, but that's really only about a third of it. The core stuff really just prepares you to take the bar exam. So there's criminal law, there's constitutional law, there is property law, there is tort law, which is basically like negligence, like which is what I do on a daily basis, dealing with auto accidents. What else did we learn that we had to learn? Criminal procedure, things like that. Those are all
And
things.
which avenue were you really intrigued by?
So I went
Which
in.
one wet your whistle? Which one gave you a chubby?
I went into law school having worked in the law. So I was not one of the stereotypical. There were a handful of different types of people, as I will call them, at least that I started with law school. A lot of them were, because I started in a night program, they were working professionals that either their job was paying for them to go and get an advanced degree, and they were like, well, this makes sense, why not? There was a little bit of the, well, what do I do next type of mentality with some of those people. Not so much in the night class, but certainly within the law school, there are always a chunk of people whose parents were lawyers and potentially parents before that were lawyers, so they are expected to do the next thing. um
Generational law.
yeah, I started not, I started with a law job. My parents are not attorneys. I don't know that my father has for his life been consistently gainfully employed for large stretches of time. So this apple has fallen quite far from the tree to some extent. Um, so I didn't have any of that like pedigree behind me. I worked in the law for a number of years before going to law school. So I had already, my comfort level in handling injury cases, specifically auto accidents, but more broadly than that, was kind of set in place because it was what I already knew how to do. So those classes actually pissed me off more than anything else because when it really illustrated to me the big difference between law school teaching you to take and pass the bar versus teaching you to practice law, because I would get in arguments sometimes with professors in those types of classes because I would try to bring in real world perspective to questions that they just want a book answer to. And there was some strife there from time to time.
Right.
And it is what it is. I got out of it. I'm now doing my thing.
Did
And
it ever tempt you to stop doing law? Like, man, you're like, what are you talking about? You ever like bounce and just
no,
want to quit?
my I mean, I knew what I was doing. I knew what I was going to do when I got out of there. I knew that I needed the degree and I needed to be able to pass the bar to run my
Got
own
it.
firm and the
Did
spoils
you,
of war
did you
to
pass
keep
the
them as
bar
mine.
first time out?
Yes. Um, and the unfortunate thing about that is I don't know how well I did. They will give you copies of the test and tell you how many points you scored if you fail. But if you pass, that you don't
They
know
don't
if
care.
you had the best
If you
score
barely
or
pass,
if you barely squeak by. You just passed. Period. Go. Move on. Pass. Go. Here's your $200. We'll certainly collect more than that from you in bar dues and everything throughout the years. Have a nice
I
day.
love that concept that the lawyer you get could have just barely squeaked by the bar, like got just one percentile above fail, or aced it at 100%, whatever 100% is, and aced it, and they don't know, and you don't know.
Yeah, at least in Maryland. And I know I have friends that are licensed in other states. I have yet to run into somebody who has told me that they know what their bar exam score was.
I'm
Um,
gonna have to ask a couple of my lawyer friends if they know what their bar exam score was. It's
Now
been
there is
decades.
there is a multi-state portion of the bar that you get a score on because that, and I think it's all changed now because they're on a different format. But when I did this, you would get your multi-state bar exam score, but not the state specific score, because that multi-state score could be used in other states to get reciprocity, but you'd have to have at least a minimum score on that because it would be possible to do well enough on the state score to make up for your multi-skate score and still pass. So they tell you that, but I never had any interest in getting, into other states. So I got enough going on where I am now. But yeah.
How long you been in Maryland? Born and
Uh
raised?
well, I was born probably
A
like
poor
15.
black child.
Yes. No, I was actually born in Pennsylvania, but lived in Maryland at the time. It just that's where maybe like 20 minutes into Pennsylvania. I lived in northern Maryland. But yeah, I mean, I went to undergrad in Western New York, which I think we talked about that a little bit in the first episode with
Hmm.
9/11 and people thinking that I was in trouble when
You
they
were
were.
in New York, New York. Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
I'm nowhere near it.
And then I ended up as part of undergrad, there was this internship program, and it was like a required paid for, but also for credit internship program. That ended up having me move to Chicago, and I lived in Chicago for 2 years. And part of my part of the delay in me finishing my undergrad in that traditional time frame was that this company offered me management interest and some ownership interest in a new branch. And I just was like, this is cool. I'm making money. I'm not going back to school right now. And there was a, I don't know, several year gap in time until I ended up being like, fuck that. It's time to do something real. Not that that wasn't real, but it was an interesting journey. I love living in Chicago. It's a great city. Um, but yeah, that was
Now
it.
you're back in Maryland.
Yep. Now I'm back in Maryland, and other than almost buying a house in Las Vegas, which would have been a second home pre-pandemic, um, I
You end
just
up buying a second home in Maryland. You were destined to buy two homes,
well, that's
is what I'm hearing.
temporary. We're under
No, I mean,
contract.
again, you have two
I
homes.
do, but you know, I will only really have two homes that I could stay in or put my shit in for about a week, because we take possession of the new house on October 24th, and the closing on the house that we're selling is Halloween. So there's like a week there that it's
You'll actually
exactly a
have
week that,
keys to two properties.
yeah, that we'll have both. So, you know, good times there. So you have mentioned, I want to bring this up because I was setting everything up. Obviously, this is episode 2, so we don't really know what we're doing and we're figuring it out.
Yep.
But you had mentioned a couple of times, hey, so and so, if you're listening, call in. When I started setting this thing up on the host server, there is actually, and it won't be active until I drop the trailer episode, which will come soon. But there is an option. Let me see if I can find it and at least describe it to you.
This is
Uh,
where we would start playing the music, how the sausage is made.
yeah. A little, but this is also
In
informative
insider informative training, whatever that is.
because
We're,
somewhere in
we're gonna have to go to
here,
our creative scoops and be like, hey, we need songs for this. We need songs for this.
exactly. There is this thing called messages, okay? And apparently we're once this thing goes live, and I believe that the trailer episode is enough to make it go live, we are going to be able to have a voice message link. So this concept that you've been playing around with of, hey, if you're listening, call in, I think is going to be a reality. So when that becomes the case, we're gonna spread that link around. And I don't know about you, but I kind of have a feeling about you that the whole go ahead and fuck with us, we don't care, is gonna be a just a billboard. Put it out there. Leave us whatever sort of shenanigans you want.
And
Um,
we will read it or play it on air. We
because that is
absolutely will, and we will
that
react to it.
that is what we are all about here, is shenanigans and tomfoolery.
Yes. Now, if it's we will I'm not say edit it. What's the word? What's the word I'm looking for?
Screen it.
Screen. Thank you. That's the word I'm looking
Yeah.
for. I knew words and they exist. I know how to say words. I know words. We will screen stuff, so don't get on and be like fuck motherfucker fuck, but whatever, unless it's funny.
Yeah.
uh I will always do funny, but the internet does have trolls out there. As we found out recently, we were on, this is, I won't call this a sister podcast, the Ice Cream Social, but we are both scoops. We both listen to the Ice Cream Social. um uh so I won't call it officially sanctioned yet. Um, where I was doing a game with Paul Madeley over the Zooms, and he had publicly posted the link, Zoom link, for the game that we're playing, a game called Rift Tracks, which was a lot of fun, a lot of blast. Shout out to Rift Tracks, shout out to Paul Madeley. Um, Paul, if you're listening to the podcast, call in. And we got these trolls who would come in, and the other scoop who was running it and whose name escapes me right now had developed a screening process for that. He was like, okay, you see, you're in the whatever. What do you say when I say salt pork? And they couldn't reply. If they made some dumb reply,
Piggy
then
butts.
we got, yes, piggy
Piggy
butt.
butts.
Yes, piggy butts. No, get out. You're not, get out. Um, Yeah, so we when we do things of that nature, just be aware we will also have some kind of screening process that is specific to Big Sexy Digital Nomad. I don't know what it's going to be yet because we'll find it organically as we do this.
It's just like the podcast. We're gonna sort this thing out.
Yeah,
If that link to leave us a message is already there, please use it.
yeah.
If you've got suggestions, if you've got specific questions for Big Sexy or myself, we are open to them because consider where we are in this podcast. This is important if you're here listening from day one. It's kind of like if and I know that there's a chance that we have international listeners because of the ICS crowd, but and I don't know if the analogy I'm going to make exists other places in the world. It very well may, but I don't know. But in the U.S.,
International listeners, listen closely and then call in.
yeah. So if you drive through a toll booth in the US, there's this area just past the toll booth where there are no lines on the lanes. It's just a big wide open, okay, do I need to go east or west, north or south or whatever? And everybody's kind of zigzagging and figuring out because people that are paying cash are all the way to the right, and people that have an easy pass are all the way to the left, but they might need to go the other way when they get through. That kind of wide open, we're going to figure out where the lanes are is really what we're doing probably over the next 10, 15, who knows, episodes. We'll see.
Wide open spaces on the freeway.
That's us.
That's us. We are wide open spaces on the freeway. Trying to figure out where the hell we're going, what we're doing. I of course, listening to podcasts as we do, and you start thinking of what they already have uh in place that they discovered organically. The department like, okay, do we have a thing that we're going to call our listeners? Now we don't have right now. We don't have any listeners because we're recording this before this ever drops. So right now it's just me and Jobed talking to each other,
And
imagining the listeners that we're going to have.
and we will definitely, just as a heads up to anybody who, if that link is active, or if you're emailing us or hitting us up on the socials, we will probably record 3 or 4 episodes before one of these goes live. So if you are writing to us through that link and you don't hear what you've said on one of the episodes, don't fret yet, because some of these are, we're teeing this up to make sure that we can bring you consistent content here. So we will definitely get to you. Don't let that discourage you.
Yeah, so I look forward to hearing from everybody, all the folks, all your thoughts. Definitely have questions. And of course, as we go along and my journey progresses and I really, begin all the things, as that happens, I'm pretty sure folks are going to have questions and I'm going to have questions. So we may have a reverse question and answer segment where I ask the audience questions and y'all can send in your answers and we figure it out. Uh, but yeah, so this is a Big Sexy Digital Nomad. Uh, we're gonna try to keep these. I'd say short and sweet, but I'll say right now they're mid mediocre. Um, and they're gonna be mid and marvelous. We're not trying to go as long as some other podcasts, but we're not also going to truncate it because one, I know that we both like to hear ourselves talk, and if we're not paying attention to the clock and pulling in the reins, we'll go on forever, and we both got shit to do.
Got that right.
So, on behalf of Big Sexy Digital Nomad, I am Big Sexy,
And I am the almost psychic.
and we will catch y'all next time.
See ya.
Bye.